The hall was silent, except for the sound of one nervous breath. A little black girl no older than 10 stood frozen at the microphone, her tiny fingers gripping the edge of the podium. Hundreds of eyes stared at her, some with curiosity, some with pity, and some with mockery. In the front row, a tall, well-dressed man in an expensive suit smirked. Beside him sat his son, the boy everyone said would win the spelling bee. After all, he was the son of a millionaire, raised in luxury, trained by the best tutors money could buy. The girl, she had nothing. No tutors, no resources, no designer clothes. Her shoes were worn out, the soles almost breaking apart. And yet, here she was standing, against the millionaire's son in the biggest competition of her young life. The announcer leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "Your word is indefatigable." The crowd gasped. A difficult word. A word even adults stumble over. The millionaire's son laughed under his breath. He turned to his father and whispered, loud enough for others to hear, "She won't even last one round. Dad, this is embarrassing." The father chuckled. "Of course, son. She's out of her league. Just watch." But the little girl, she closed her eyes. She wasn't just hearing the word. She was seeing it, each letter forming in her mind, one by one. She gripped the microphone tighter and began to spell. But wait, how did a girl like her, born in poverty, mocked by the rich, rejected by society, end up standing on this grand stage, facing the millionaire's son? This story is not just about a competition. It's about humiliation, resilience, and a shocking ending that no one, not even the millionaire's family, could have predicted. The little girl's world. Her name was Amara. She lived with her mother in a tiny, one-room apartment in the poorest side of town. The peeling paint on the walls told stories of years of struggle. The old wooden table wobbled every time someone touched it. Her mother worked 2 jobs cleaning offices during the day, serving food at a diner at night just to put food on the table. They had no luxuries, no fancy clothes, sometimes not even enough for a full meal. But Amara had something that couldn't be bought with money. A mind sharper than anyone realized. Every evening, after finishing her homework, she would sit by the dim light of a flickering bulb and read old, second-hand books her mother had collected from garage sales. She read everything: dictionaries, encyclopedias, novels, anything with words. Her love for words was unmatched, and slowly, without anyone noticing, she became a natural at spelling. The millionaire's son's world. On the other side of the city lived Liam, the son of a wealthy and powerful businessman. His life was the complete opposite of Amara's. He lived in a mansion where chandeliers sparkled and fountains decorated the gardens. He had private tutors, language coaches, and endless resources. But there was one problem: Liam wasn't as smart as everyone thought. He was arrogant, spoiled, and lazy. He didn't love words. He didn't love learning. He loved winning. And more than that, he loved mocking anyone who dared to challenge him. His father, Mr. Grant, had made sure Liam would win the spelling bee. After all, their family name couldn't afford embarrassment. The first encounter, the first time Amara and Liam crossed paths, was during the preliminary rounds of the competition. When Amara's name was called, a murmur spread through the audience. Some parents frowned. Some whispered cruel things. "What's she doing here? Look at her clothes. She won't last a single round. Is this a charity case?" Amara heard every word, but she stood tall. Liam, however, smirked and leaned back in his chair. When his turn came, he spelt his word quickly, showing off. Then he turned to Amara and whispered as she walked back to her seat, "Careful, don't embarrass yourself, poor girl." Amara didn't reply. She simply looked him in the eye and said quietly, "Winning isn't about money, it's about focus." Liam laughed out loud. "We'll see." The seed of rivalry. That small exchange lit a fire. For Amara, this wasn't just about a spelling competition anymore. This was about dignity, about proving that no matter where you came from, a rich mansion or a poor apartment, talent and hard work still mattered. For Liam, it became personal. He couldn't stand the thought of a girl like her challenging him. His arrogance only grew, and he made it his mission to mock and humiliate her at every step. And yet, Amara never lost her calm. She smiled. She listened. She worked harder. What no one realized was this: every cruel word, every mocking laugh, every sneer from the millionaire's son was only making Amara stronger. She wasn't just here to participate. She was here to win. Cliffhanger. Back at the spelling bee stage, the judge leaned forward again. "Amara," he said gently, "please spell indefatigable." The room went silent. The millionaire's son smirked. His father whispered, "She's done." But Amara, she took a deep breath. She remembered the nights she studied words under the flickering bulb. She remembered her mother's tired smile. She remembered every insult she had endured. And then letter by letter she began to spell. The first shock, the impossible word. The hall was dead silent. You could hear the faint buzzing of the ceiling fans, the rustling of papers in the judge's hand, even the nervous cough of someone in the audience. All eyes were fixed on the little black girl Amara. Her lips trembled for a moment, then steadied. Her voice was soft but clear. Indefatigable. 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 A pause. The judge blinked, stunned. Then, with a slow smile, he announced, "That is correct." The crowd erupted, gasps, murmurs, even a few claps. People leaned toward each other, whispering in disbelief. She got it right? No way. That word is impossible for her age. Where did she even learn that? Meanwhile, Liam, the millionaire's son, froze in his seat. His smirk vanished, replaced with wide-eyed disbelief. His father, Mr. Grant, adjusted his gold watch, his face tightening in irritation. "She must have gotten lucky," he muttered under his breath. But Amara, she didn't celebrate. She didn't even smile. She simply nodded politely and walked back to her seat, calm as ever. Liam's turn. The judge called the next word for Liam. "Your word is conscientious." It wasn't an easy word either, but certainly not harder than Amara's. Liam swaggered up to the microphone, trying to regain his confidence. He grinned at the crowd, then began spelling with exaggerated confidence. Conscientious. Conscientious. A collective gasp filled the room. The judge's smile disappeared. "I'm sorry. That is incorrect." The audience murmured louder now. Some even chuckled. Liam's face turned red. He clenched his fists and shouted, "Wait. I misspoke. Give me another chance." But the rules were strict. A mistake was a mistake. From the corner of her eye, Amara saw him glaring at her as though she had somehow caused his failure. The backlash. After the first round ended, everyone crowded outside during the short break. Parents whispered in groups. Reporters scribbled notes. The tension was rising. Mr. Grant pulled Liam aside, his voice sharp like a blade. "How could you make such a careless mistake?" Liam's eyes filled with tears of frustration. "Dad, I knew the word. I just said it wrong." "That's not good enough," his father snapped. "Do you realize what people will say? That our family lost to some girl from the streets." He grabbed Liam by the shoulders. "You'd better fix this. In the next rounds, you will not fail again. Do you understand me?" Liam nodded quickly, though his confidence was shattered. Meanwhile, Amara sat quietly in a corner with her mother, eating a small sandwich they had packed from home. Her mother squeezed her hand and whispered, "You did so well, my love. Don't let their words distract you." Amara smiled faintly. "I won't, Mama. I know why I'm here." Round 2 begins? The second round began. The words grew harder. "Your word is onomatopoeia." Gasps again? Even adults stumbled over this word. Amara stepped forward. She took a deep breath, remembering the times she studied unusual words late into the night, tracing each syllable with her finger in the old dictionary. Onomatopoeia. The judge's eyes widened. Correct. The crowd clapped louder this time. More heads turned. Some even began cheering her name softly. "Go, Amara." Then came Liam's turn. His word was privileged, simple to simple. A word even children knew. The judge raised an eyebrow, almost testing him. Liam smirked, spelling quickly. Priviledg. Wrong. The hall gasped again. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Mr. Grant's face turned pale, then flushed red. His jaw tightened. The judge cleared his throat, his voice formal. "I'm sorry. That is incorrect." Somewhere in the crowd, someone whispered, "How ironic." He doesn't even know how to spell privilege, yet his whole life is built on it. The words cut like a knife. The millionaire's rage. Outside the hall during the next break, Mr. Grant exploded. "This is unacceptable. You are embarrassing me. Liam, do you want the entire city to laugh at us?" Liam shook, his voice trembling. "Dad, the words are harder than I thought. They're harder. That little girl got them right. What excuse do you have?" Liam's eyes burned with anger. He clenched his jaw, glaring in Amara's direction. "I'll beat her. I don't care what it takes." Mr. Grant leaned close, whispering darkly, "You'd better. Or else, you're not just losing a competition, you're losing everything I've built for you." Amara's resolve. While Liam drowned in fear and pressure, Amara focused. Her mother hugged her gently. "Baby, they'll do everything to bring you down. But remember, this stage is yours. Don't look at them. Look at the microphone. Look at your words." Amara nodded, her small eyes burning with determination. For her, this was no longer just about winning. It was about justice, about showing the world that intelligence, courage, and heart mattered more than privilege or wealth. Cliffhanger. Back inside, the announcer raised his voice for the next round. "All remaining contestants, please prepare. The words will now grow much harder." The tension in the hall was unbearable. Liam clenched his fists, sweat dripping down his forehead. Amara closed her eyes, whispering silently to herself, "I can do this." The crowd leaned forward, waiting. The judge glanced at the paper in his hand, and then announced, "Amara, your word is pulchritude." The audience gasped once more. The word was ancient, rare, one hardly used in daily life. The spotlight fell on her. The room felt heavy with expectation. Could she do it again? Could she shock everyone one more time? The millionaire's son smirked, whispering, "She's finished this time." But Amara slowly raised her head. Her lips curved into the smallest, most confident smile. She stepped toward the microphone and opened her mouth. Breaking point, the impossible word. The entire auditorium froze. "Amara, your word is pulchritude." The crowd buzzed. Even the parents in the audience shook their heads. Some whispered, "Nobody knows that word. She's too young for this one. Now we'll see her fail." Liam crossed his arms, smirking. "She's done." Amara, however, remained calm. She remembered the long nights sitting by candlelight, her mother guiding her through the thick dictionary they borrowed from the library. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Pulchritude, meaning beauty." The audience leaned forward. Her voice grew louder. "Pulchritude, pulchritude." A tense silence. Then the judge smiled. "That is correct." The hall exploded. Cheers, applause, gasps. Reporters scribbled furiously in their notebooks. Cameras flashed. People stood up from their seats, clapping for the little girl who spelt a word even adults struggled with. The whispering crowd. Outside, the whispers grew louder. "Have you ever seen anything like this? She's spelling words the millionaire's son can't even pronounce. Maybe she's gifted." But there were other voices too. Bitter ones. Lucky guesses. That's all. No way she studied those words on her own. Someone must be helping her. Mr. Grant clenched his jaw at the murmurs. His prestige was on the line, and this little girl was stealing the spotlight from his son. Liam's descent. Liam's next word was ubiquitous. A fairly common word, but his hands shook as he stepped up to the mic. Sweat trickled down his forehead. U-B-I. He hesitated. His voice cracked. Q-U-I-T-I-S. Wrong. The judge shook his head. Incorrect. The audience groaned. Liam's face turned crimson. He stomped his foot. "No, that's not fair. I want another word." But the judge was firm. "The rules are final." The cameras caught every second of his tantrum. The whispers in the crowd turned into outright mockery. Is that the millionaire's boy? Can't handle losing to a girl half his size. He's cracking under pressure. Liam ran off the stage, tears threatening his eyes. His father grabbed him roughly by the shoulder and hissed, "You're humiliating us." Mr. Grant's plan. Later, in the hallway, Mr. Grant pulled out his phone. His face was like stone. "This girl is making a fool of my son," he muttered to a man on the other end. "I don't care how smart she is. I want her out of this competition." There was silence. Then a cold reply, understood. Mr. Grant slipped his phone back into his pocket, his lips curling into a thin smile. Back inside, Amara had no idea the storm that was brewing against her. Amara's flashback. As she waited for her next turn, Amara thought back to the nights when she studied words by candlelight. Her mother worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. Sometimes, when the power went out, they studied in darkness, whispering the words aloud so they stuck in Amara's memory. Her mother always said, "Baby, words are power. Learn them, and no one can silence you." That memory gave Amara strength. She sat up straighter, her small fists clenched with determination. The rigged round. The next round began. The judge hesitated as he read the word given to Amara. His brow furrowed. The word was far too advanced for her age group. Someone had clearly slipped it into the list. But rules were rules. He announced, "Amara, your word is floxinosinishiophily." Gasps, laughter. Even the reporters were stunned. One whispered, "That word has 29 letters. No one will get that right." Liam smirked from the sidelines. His father's eyes glinted coldly. Amara froze. She had seen this word before, but only once, scribbled on the back of a dictionary page. She closed her eyes, taking a shaky breath. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, "Words are power. No one can silence you." Amara stepped to the microphone. Her voice, though trembling, was steady enough. "FLOCCI, UCINIHILIPILIFICATION." The judge's eyes widened. The hall went silent. "That is correct." The crowd exploded in cheers so loud the walls shook. People jumped to their feet, clapping wildly. Amara stood there, calm and composed, though her small heart pounded in her chest. "Liam breaks." Liam snapped. He shouted across the stage, his voice shrill. "She's cheating. There's no way she knows those words. This is a setup." The audience booed him. Mr. Grant rushed forward, pulling Liam back. But his son's outburst had already gone viral. Cameras caught everything. Amara didn't respond. She simply looked straight ahead, her calmness a sharp contrast to Liam's chaos. Cliffhanger. The judges whispered among themselves. The competition was spiraling out of control. Amara had just spelt one of the hardest words in the English language, flawlessly. But Mr. Grant wasn't done. His eyes were cold as steel as he whispered to his assistant, "If she won't fail, then we'll make her fail." The camera zooms in on Amara's innocent face as the crowd continues cheering, unaware of the trap being set, the sabotage, the silent threat. The cheering still echoed through the auditorium as the break began. Parents clustered together, some smiling, some shaking their heads in disbelief. But Mr. Grant wasn't smiling. He leaned down toward Liam, his voice sharp and venomous. "You let her humiliate you again? Do you understand what this looks like? My son, the heir to the grand empire, losing to a poor little girl." Liam's fists clenched. His voice was bitter. "Dad, she's not normal. She's like some kind of freak. Nobody should know those words." Mr. Grant's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then we'll even the playing field." He glanced toward the stage doors where his assistant waited. A nod was enough. The plan was in motion. Amara and her mother. Meanwhile, Amara sat with her mother in the corner of the hallway, eating a small packet of crackers. Her mother stroked her hair softly. "Baby, you are shining brighter than ever. Don't let their faces scare you. You're doing this for more than just yourself." Amara nodded. Her eyes were serious, wiser than her age. "I know, Mama. It's for all the kids who never get chances. If I win, they'll see it can be done." Her mother's eyes watered, but she smiled proudly. "That's my girl." The rigged judge. Back near the judge's table, one of Mr. Grant's associates slipped a folded piece of paper to a hesitant judge. "These are the next words," he whispered. "Use them for the girl." The judge glanced at the list ancient. Bizarre words no child should reasonably know. His conscience twisted. "This isn't right," he muttered. The man's eyes hardened. "Do it, or your position is gone by tomorrow." The judge swallowed hard, tucking the paper under his notes. Liam's boast. In the waiting area, Liam puffed his chest in front of a small crowd of kids. "You all know she's cheating, right? My dad says no girl like her could ever spell like that." Some nodded uneasily. Others avoided his eyes. But one boy whispered, "Or maybe she's just smarter than you." Liam's face turned crimson. He shoved the boy aside, his temper boiling. "No, she's slip up. You'll see. My dad will make sure of it." Round for Bagans. The contestants filed back inside. The announcer cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the next round of the National Junior Spelling Bee." The audience cheered. The lights dimmed, and the spotlight fell once again on the small microphone at the center of the stage. The tension was thick enough to choke on. The trap word. The judge adjusted his glasses, his voice uneasy. "Amara, your word is." "Anti-disestablishmentarianism." Gasps erupted. Laughter trickled through the crowd. "That word is ridiculous. She's only a child." Amara froze for a second. The word was one of the longest in the English language. Her tiny hands trembled. From the crowd, Liam smirked widely. His father's eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. But then Amara remembered. Late one night, months ago, her mother had shown her that very word, laughing at how impossibly long it was. They had practiced it again and again until she could spell it in her sleep. Amara smiled faintly. "Untidiscestab. Lishmentiarism." The judge's mouth fell open. "That is correct." The hall erupted like thunder. People leapt to their feet, cheering, clapping, shouting her name. "Amara! Amara! Amara!" The father's fury. Mr. Grant's face twisted with rage. He gripped the edge of his seat so hard his knuckles turned white. "How is this possible?" he hissed. Liam's jaw dropped. His voice shook. She knew it. "How?" Mr. Grant stood abruptly, storming out of the hall, his phone already in hand. "This isn't enough. If she won't fail by words, then we'll break her spirit." The growing support. Back inside, parents and children alike began to cheer louder for Amara. "She's incredible. I've never seen a child so gifted. She's making history tonight." Reporters began snapping photos, their lenses flashing. Her face was becoming the headline of the night. Even some of Liam's peers shifted away from him, whispering that Amara was the true star. For the first time, the little black girl from nowhere was shining brighter than the Millionaire's air. Cliffhanger. But behind the stage curtain, Mr. Grant's assistant handed a small envelope to the announcer. Inside was a note designed to plant doubt and destroy Amara's confidence. The announcer's eyes flicked over it, his expression troubled. As the lights dimmed for the next round, the camera zoomed in on Amara, small, calm, and unaware that forces far bigger than words were about to target her. The crowd cheered her name, but in the shadows, a trap was closing. The spell that changed everything. The auditorium was breathing tension now. Each word, each letter was becoming heavier than the last. The scoreboard showed both competitors neck and neck. No one had managed to pull ahead. The millionaire's son adjusted his expensive blazer, looking smug even though sweat had begun forming on his forehead. His father, seated proudly in the front row, crossed his arms with the confidence of someone who believed the outcome was already written in their favor. Then came the next word for the little black girl. The announcer cleared his throat and said, "Your word is chrysanthemum." Gasps filled the room. It wasn't just a word, it was a monster, one of the toughest in the English dictionary. The crowd murmured, some whispering, "She never get it. Even adults mess this up." The girl closed her eyes. For a moment, the stage lights seemed to dim. She thought about her mother sitting in the back, hands clenched in silent prayer. She thought about every night she'd spent with her battered dictionary, whispering words to herself by candlelight. And then, with a steady voice that carried across the hall, she began. Chrysanthem. The silence that followed was deafening. The judge looked stunned. Then came the announcement, correct. The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in awe. The little girl's smile was small, but her eyes gleamed like fire. She had just conquered one of the hardest words in the competition. But while the audience applauded, the millionaire's son's face twisted. He wasn't used to being outshone, and now his pride was burning. His father leaned forward, whispering something to him with a sharp, angry expression. "Don't you dare lose to her." The tension had shifted. This wasn't just a competition anymore. It was a battle of worlds, pride against perseverance. privilege against resilience. And deep inside, the audience knew the next round would decide everything. The word that shook his confidence. The crowd was still, buzzing from the little black girl's flawless spelling of chrysanthemum. Whispers darted across the hall like sparks. Did you see that? Unbelievable. She's incredible. But now, all eyes turned to the millionaire's son. His turn, his father leaned forward in his seat, his jaw tight, eyes blazing with expectation. The announcer cleared his throat again and said firmly, "Your word is onomatopoeia." The room gasped again. The word wasn't just hard, it was notorious, a trickster in the spelling world. The boy's smirk faltered. For the first time, his polished confidence cracked. He repeated the word, trying to buy time. Onomatopoeia? The crowd shifted uncomfortably. His father's fists clenched. The boy licked his lips nervously, glancing at his father, then at the girl who sat tall and calm, waiting for the outcome. He began spelling, onomatopoeia. A long silence followed. Then the head judge shook his head. "I'm sorry, that is incorrect." The audience gasped loudly. The millionaire's son froze, his face drained of color. His father slammed a hand onto his armrest. His pride shattered in front of everyone. And then came the twist of the knife. Now, according to the rules, the little black girl had to spell the word correctly to win the round. The judge turned to her gently. "Your word is onomatopoeia." The girl took a deep breath, her small voice steady as she spelled each letter carefully, her memory guiding her like a compass. Onomatopoeia. Correct. The crowd leapt to their feet. Cheers echoed through the hall. Some even clapped so hard their hands turned red. The little girl smiled shyly, while her mother in the back let tears slip down her cheeks, whispering, "That's my baby." Meanwhile, the millionaire's son sank into his chair, humiliated, his father staring at him with silent rage. For the first time in his life, he had been bested by someone everyone expected to fail. The match wasn't over, yet there were still rounds left, but the balance had shifted. The underdog was no longer just a participant. She was a force. The audience now leaned forward, eager, knowing they were witnessing history in the making. The final showdown. The tension in the hall was so thick you could almost feel it pressing against your chest. The millionaire's son had recovered a little, but everyone knew his confidence was rattled. The little black girl, however, sat with her back straight, her hands folded neatly, her eyes shining with quiet determination. The announcer stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, this will be the final round. The winner will be crowned today's champion." Gasps swept through the audience. It was down to just two, David versus Goliath. The judge turned first to the boy. His father's eyes bore into him like daggers, silently screaming, "Do not fail me again. Your word is triskaidekaphobia." The boy swallowed hard. He knew it had something to do with the number 13, but the letters twisted in his mind like a puzzle he couldn't solve. "T-R-I-S-C," he stammered. The judge's face remained blank, waiting. "D-E-C." The bell rang. Incorrect. The audience gasped again. The boy's father slammed his hand onto the armrest so hard the sound echoed. His son shrank in his seat, shame burning his cheeks. And now, all eyes turned to the little girl. The head judge's voice softened, almost encouraging. "Your word is triskaidekaphobia." The hall went silent. You could hear a pin drop. The little girl closed her eyes for a brief moment, remembering the late nights at the kitchen table with her mother, practicing strange, twisted words until her tongue hurt. She whispered the word under her breath, almost like a prayer, and then she began. "Triskaidekaphobia." A pause. The judges leaned in. "That is correct." The hall exploded with cheers. People stood on their feet, clapping, shouting, some even crying. The little girl's mother rushed forward, her arms wide open, hugging her daughter tightly with tears streaming down her face. The millionaire's son stared at her in disbelief, his mouth open. His father sat frozen, his pride crushed, his arrogance shattered into silence. And there, under the blinding stage lights, a little black girl who no one believed in held the golden trophy in her tiny hands. The judge raised her arm high. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion. The crowd roared louder than ever. The millionaire's son lowered his head, but the little girl, she lifted the trophy with both hands, smiling shyly, while the world looked at her not as just a black girl, but as the spelling champion who shocked everyone. The ending that shocked everyone. The crowd was still on their feet, clapping and cheering so loudly that the walls seemed to shake. The little black girl stood in the center of the stage, the golden trophy gleaming in her small hands. Her eyes sparkled not with arrogance, but with pride, with relief, with the knowledge that all those long nights practicing had finally paid off. Her mother rushed to the stage, hugging her so tightly that the little girl almost dropped the trophy. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "You did it, baby. You really did it." Meanwhile, the millionaire's son sat frozen, his face pale. His father leaned back in his seat, defeated. For years, he believed money could buy talent, that privilege could replace hard work, and that his son's success was guaranteed. But now, in front of hundreds of people, he had been proven wrong. The millionaire's gaze locked on the girl, as if he were seeing her for the very first time, not just as the little black girl he thought could never compete, but as someone extraordinary, someone who worked harder than anyone else in the room. Whispers filled the audience. "She's brilliant. What an inspiration. I'll never forget this day." The announcer raised his voice one last time. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a reminder that greatness does not come from wealth, but from determination, courage, and belief in oneself." The crowd erupted again, chanting her name. The little girl waved shyly, her heart pounding. And as the millionaire's son lowered his head in shame, the little girl stood tall, proud, victorious, unforgettable. This story teaches us something powerful. Never underestimate anyone because of where they come from, how they look, or what they don't have. True strength comes from within. If you believe hard work and determination can beat privilege and arrogance, smash that like button, subscribe for more powerful stories, and share this video with someone who needs inspiration today. Because sometimes, the ones we overlook are the ones who shine the brightest.